Hey everybody, it's Adam Farkas. Welcome to another ODwire webinar. Thanks so much for coming out tonight. Now, before we get started, just some ground rules. On the right side of your screen, you should have a box that says questions. As the webinar unfolds tonight, feel free to ask questions. We're going to hold them aside, and at the very end, we're going to do a little bit of Q&A. Other thing is, of course, we have our incentive, as we always do here at ODwire, and tonight it's for the Starbucks gift card. So if you're here live, you qualify for it. So what I'll do is after the show is over, I'll have the list of everybody who was here. And then sometime in the next several days, you should be getting an email from Starbucks. And it might have my name on it, but it will also be from Starbucks with your gift card. And it's a very easy e-gift card, very easy to apply. So if you've never done it before, it's not technically challenging, so don't worry. So with that said, this is going to be a little bit of a different webinar tonight. So our speaker had a bit of a conflict, and so we put our heads together. You know, he legitimately couldn't make it at this hour, so we put our heads together and we're like, what can we do? So we actually together pre-recorded his talk. So what we're going to be doing is playing back for you his talk all about integrated technologies to streamline your practice. And most people, I think, over time, especially if you've been in practice for a long time, you start collecting equipment, you know, various best of breed that may or may not speak to each component, may or may not speak to the other component well. What we're going to talk about tonight here is how multiple different pieces of equipment, when they can talk to each other, how it actually helps streamline your practice. So if you take that approach of having an integrated system, it can provide real benefits. And our speaker tonight is Dr. Johann Schlager. And again, I apologize that he can't be here live right now, but he's a really interesting guy if you've never heard him speak before. He's got a background that he'll talk about that's a little bit different from most. But most importantly, he's only been in practice a few years. So he took the interesting tack of actually building an integrated system kind of from scratch when he came in. Instead of going piecemeal. And he's going to talk a little bit today about how that's benefited him and how it works. And again, if you have any questions for him, feel free to type them in that box. And even if we don't get them answered tonight by either Dr. Schlager or the Visionix staff that's here, we're going to post your questions to him in the discussion thread where this webinar will be posted. So with all my blathering, let me actually pull it up and we can start watching this together. So again, feel free to ask questions as the talk unfolds tonight.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. So let's go ahead and talk about the integrated technologies to streamline your practice. So a little bit about me. I went to Cal Berkeley for undergraduate. My major was actually the practice of art. And before starting optometry school, I actually started my own coffee roasting business. I was a flight attendant for Delta Airlines. I joined the United States Air Force, then went to optometry school, and I was part of the 2019 graduating class at Western University. Right now, I'm currently the owner of a small private practice with my wife, located here in Merced, California, and we've owned it since January 2022. Now, a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. These are the four main points as we'll be talking about: a quick introduction on all four machines, integrating the technology, specifically the full diagnostic and refractive suite, how patient care is enhanced, and lastly, a few key benefits on how Visionix has elevated our practice. Integrating technologies, the full diagnostic and refractive suite. So here is a quick view of how integrating all the machines gives us a seamless approach. What's great about integrating the machines is the amount of knowledge and skills the tech needs to perform and run all the machines. First, we'll start with the VX40, the autolensometer. It's a quick analysis with the press of a button and can easily be uploaded to the EHR. While you have the lenses analyzed, your tech is performing the screening with the fully automatic VX130 Plus. And again, with just the press of a button. This too is easily uploaded into your EHR. Your tech then loads the data into the VX65, does a quick VA, and then you have more time available for your exam and patient education. And lastly, if you see anything during the exam, you have the ability to use the new Solix for an in-depth analysis. The Solix allows for the analysis of glaucoma, macular degeneration, the lens, cornea analysis, and much more. Now, after the glasses are analyzed, you have two options. First, here you're able to go ahead and consistently, repeatedly get the analysis of your glasses with any tech that has that ability there. You're also able to accurately measure prism, which a lot of times is difficult, especially with your handheld lensometer or your manual lensometer. This helps improve the overall practice flow and show a patient what their current lenses are during the pre-testing. And this helps to analyze and help with troubleshooting lens issues. And this too, with the push of a button, you're able to import all your information into your electronic health record. And if you don't have an electronic health record, you can go ahead and have a physical printout for yourself. The VX130 Plus is a multimodal screener in one device. A little background, many of our patients here in Central California have high astigmatism, but sometimes it is difficult to determine if it's just high astigmatism or subclinical keratoconus. The VX130 Plus has saved us valuable time during the refraction, and it's allowed us to go ahead and make the refraction quicker and the follow-up. There's a total of 26 diagnostics that can be performed in 90 seconds. It helps increase patient management and efficiently collect data. Having the ability to be able to quickly glance at the patient's angles and corneal thickness has allowed us to better assess the risk of glaucoma in younger patients and allows for better management of drops in our older patients. And more importantly, it has a small footprint for your pre-testing area. Here, now we're going to take a quick look at the fast adaptation of the interface of the VX65. Having the ability of using two interfaces allows for a multi-doctor practice like ours, both me and my wife, give the ability to customize the experience for both the doctor and the patient. You have the ability to use the old school phoropter or a more modern display. On top of that, each doctor can preset the flow of their exam. As an example, I like to do the split prism during JCC or fine-tuning the astigmatism, and my wife likes to flip back and forth with plus minus SIL. As we continue to cycle through the different 6 seasons, it is nice to be able to refract several feet away through the tablet. This too has the ability to push all the data from the tablet straight into your electronic health record. The multifaceted LCD acuity chart. With the VX65 comes a multifaceted LCD acuity chart with a variety of tests. No matter what the size of the room, you have the ability to properly calibrate the screen. You also have the ability to do different languages, symbols, and numbers. You're able to randomize letters via the integrated tablet or via the control. In addition to that, each screen is polarized, eliminating inconsistent lighting in the exam room. The Optovue Solix. The Solix is the next level OCT. We were very fortunate here at our office to be one of the first in the US to use the Solix. With the Solix, you're able to perform several types of scans, from ant-seg to post-seg. The Solix is easy to operate by any tech with minimal training, which helps is the amazing eye tracking, which is done by blood vasculature. Once you're able to obtain the plethora of data, it is easy to review the scans with the patients in each exam room. No more running back and forth from room to room. Enhancing patient education and care with the multimodal screening and diagnostics. The VX130 Plus is so much more than just an AR machine. We use the VX130 Plus to help assess glaucoma and glaucoma suspects. It is able to do tonometry, pachymetry. You are also able to get compensated tono as well too. as well as get angle measurements, both nasally and temporally, and a white-to-white comparison. The displayed picture is a great example of narrow angles. Talk about quick, efficient, and more accurate than the Van Herrick. And if you want even greater detail, this is where you bring in the big guns, the Optovue Solix. Here you have the ability to see several of the corneal layers if you wanted to, as well as an anterior chamber depth and full range AC. Here you can see an example of both an open angle and a narrow angle, and able to go ahead and get those precise measurements. To gather such detailed information, we're able to go ahead and continue on with the Solix. We're able to go ahead and get more accuracy and consistency in the Solix. This is a great example where I'm like a kid in a candy shop with all the information at the tip of my fingers. Here, the ability to be consistent is key due to the ability of the eye tracking using the vasculature of both the retina and the optic nerve head. Not only do you have the ability to obtain your retinal nerve fiber layer, but also your GCC, but you're able to look at the OCTA on the optic nerve head. It's nice to be able to superimpose the RNFL and the GCC thickness over the optic nerve head. Now, let's go ahead and look at some glaucoma assessments with the Optovue Solix. Being able to not quickly analyze the data, but present it in front of your patient is priceless. There are several different graphs and charts to show either stability or progress to a patient. You're able to show them actual pictures of the progression. You're able to go ahead and look at the Tisnet graph there, comparing today's and previous exams, and actual numbers to be able to show them progression or stability. Now looking at corneal and refractive diagnostics with the VX130 Plus. Being located here in Central California, we have many patients with high astigmatism. And having the ability to quickly read and analyze a potential keratoconic suspect is invaluable. With every AR that we do with our patients, we also obtain optometry and a topography. This information is great to have and browse before entering the exam room. You're able to go ahead and look at both daytime and nighttime, or either small and large pupils and their different refractive errors. You're able to see the auto Ks as well as the actual topography there mapped out. Here are a few screenshots of different information that is available to you, such as a corneal thickness map. You're able to go ahead and, if needed, change the central values and also look at the different steps in microns. You can either do higher or lower, as well as being able to change the different thicknesses and measurements. Here's another view of the corneal and refractive diagnostics. Here you're able to see the actual central values, and then you can change the steps by quarters, half a diopter there, full diopter, whatever you'd like to go ahead and look at. As well as being able to see the posterior axial map as well. Here we have K values in different locations, from central to peripheral. If you want even more detail and flexibility, you can again set the different steps to bigger or smaller, depending on what you're trying to analyze and look at. It's nice to be able to go ahead and see the highs and lows. One of the features I utilize the most is the simulation. How many times have you done a pediatric exam and parents do not believe you that the child is having difficulty seeing because they haven't complained about their vision? With a click of a button, you're able to show the parents exactly what the child sees. And it never surprises me how shocked the parents are. But more importantly, the parents can now take your device and get the child the necessary glasses to make a difference in their lives. You also have the ability to show older patients the difference between daytime and nighttime vision, and those persistent patients that don't believe that their vision looks better with the glasses. A great aha moment for all your patients. Here, we're able to go ahead and do a cataract assessment with the VX130 Plus. How many times have you had a patient that, quote unquote, has never been told they have cataracts? Having the ability to analyze and rule out cataracts that are reducing visual acuities before you even enter the exam room is amazing. And on top of that, the ability to show your patient exactly what you see in the slit lamp is priceless. You're able to see PSCs, cortical cataracts, vacuoles, decentered IOLs, tilted IOLs, capsular torsion, and be able to show them physically what we see and the opacities there. And again, wanting more detail, going above and beyond, you can bring in the Solix for more analysis. The Solix allows for 10 millimeter pachymetry maps, so nice evaluation there. This is also great when doing scleral contact lenses. We're able to go ahead and place the scleral contacts, and having that ability to go in afterwards to get measurements. You can measure corneal thickness if you wanted to, actual measurements for central clearance, as well as limbal clearance too. Shifting the scan depth to evaluate opacities shows the patient and measure the size of the lens prior to cataract surgery as well. Here's an example of a full range anterior crystal lens. You're able to see both the anterior and posterior portions of the lens. Here are a few other examples of things that we're able to see with the anterior segment report. We're able to go ahead and see a posterior subcapsular cataract there as shown above. We're able to go ahead and have the ability to see other types of cataracts and get proper measurements before cataract surgery. Imagine the entire anterior chamber with the full range scan to measure and see not only the anterior chamber ocular structures, but also IOLs and ICLs. Having the ability to measure the pupil and both having the HVID and VVID for scleral contacts is amazing. Many times trying to get those measurements when trying to do your scleral contact lenses is difficult. Why? Sometimes you have a lot of movement, you have patients going in and out of focus there. Sometimes your ruler isn't as accurate as before. So here too, you can go ahead and take those pictures ahead of time, and then afterwards you can go ahead and actually get those measurements there, which are a lot more accurate than your handheld ruler. Here's a great example of a displaced IOL. With the Solix, we're able to go ahead and take colored images anterior. So not only for displaced IOLs, but if you have other lesions as well on the superior and inferior lids, you're able to get, again, that full range anterior chamber. And then being able to go ahead and take in different color, both in black and white, color, and your B scans. How many times have you had the opportunity to go ahead and see synechia and then actually be able to get an amazing detailed colored image of that synechia? Here's a good example of being able to take an actual picture of the front part of the eye and a full range anterior chamber where you can see the actual iris itself, as you can see, being attached to the posterior part of the cornea. This also shows, and you're able to go ahead and demonstrate if there's any angle closure, or if you have any issues there, where we can demonstrate to the patient. Now, talking about a few key benefits of streamlining my practice with the integrated and multimodal technologies. How my practice has changed since I've obtained the Visionix full scope there and technology. Number one, feeling comfortable with our techs collecting consistent data from patient to patient. Again, being located here in Merced, California, unfortunately, we are limited to the pool of applicants that are out here. And many times we have employees with absolutely no medical training, but that's no problem with Visionix. Easy, quick learning, and many of the actual equipment, it's one step, one button approach there. Being able to refract from a tablet is very convenient, especially with patients that may have health issues. Being able to distance yourself allows them and yourself to conduct a safe and healthy refraction. Especially right now, we're going again in and out, especially going from summer to the school year. We're getting a lot of those pediatrics, a lot of children getting sick, which then adults are getting sick. Being able to go ahead and refract and have that distance is invaluable. Making sure that you yourself stay healthy, as well making sure that no other disease is being spread, such as the flu and the common cold. Being able to go ahead and spend half the time refracting and that it's more accurate. Being able to go ahead and transfer the data from the actual AR machine to the tablet to go ahead and refract with the autophoropter, and then being able to transfer that information from the actual tablet straight into your electronic health record has been tremendous. We're able to go ahead and eliminate a lot of human errors. How many times have we had where when we go from the autorefractor, we think we're inputting correctly into the EHR or writing down, and then somewhere along the way where we accidentally transpose an incorrect number or sign, and we have remakes. This has been an amazing opportunity to go ahead and reduce our remakes with our glasses, so we can go ahead and when we do have remakes, maybe seeing that it's either something different, either pathology or maybe the actual measurements when taking the frame selection and measurements during the frame selection. But now we can say with confidence that a lot of the actual redos have been not because of the actual refraction in machines, but more other things along the way there. And like mentioned before, less worries on the mistakes and allows us more really to go ahead and push through the exam, do the refraction and other parts quicker, which allows me specifically to go ahead and do a lot more patient education. And because I'm able to go ahead and do a lot more patient education, even though we have this knowledge as doctors, but being able to translate what we know directly from us to the patient, spending that extra minute or two without having to sacrifice on efficiency and having to sacrifice on just a patient interaction and time has been invaluable. Being able to describe everything that's going on with the patient then really has made our office seem much more prominent with education, technology, and it's really has made our patients excited about their exams. I've gone many, many times where patients have come in and many patients have done auto refraction before, but now going through the whole suite that we have, they are mind blown by what the actual data is collected, how we're able to present the data, and more importantly, present it in a way that is easy to go ahead and digest. But more importantly, having that information allows me to better analyze and make decisions. Having all that information. And sometimes we don't even know if this is information that we might need later on. It's great to be able to go ahead and obtain the information that we obtained from any of the machines that we've had and be able to analyze it later. There'd be times where maybe I wasn't concerned about the cornea initially, and maybe I wanted to go ahead and analyze it later. And it's great to be able to see that actual information and look it over later on. But more importantly, being able to go ahead and if I wanted to bring them back for additional testing with the Solix, I can go ahead and have much more detailed information, especially when it comes to glaucoma workups and macular degeneration. We will now open it up for questions and answers, but before we get started, I want to let you know that you can experience the Visionix suite of products for yourself by scheduling a virtual demo at visionix.com/us/ODwire.
Okay, and Dr. Schlager, thank you so much for doing this. And as I think I mentioned at the top of the show, this was recorded, right? We got together and did this beforehand since you couldn't make it here live tonight. So thank you for doing this. And I guess since I'm here with you right now, I get first crack at you to ask a question. So I just had one question for you before we collect all the ones from the people watching. I'm really curious about your practice. Just looking over your bio, it was absolutely fascinating learning about you and everything that you started. It looks to me like you've, went in and you started your own practice pretty much as COVID was getting underway. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate to, when I moved here to Merced, we're able to go ahead and purchase an existing practice. And just like you mentioned, it was right in the beginnings of when COVID happened. So we're able to go ahead and purchase, both my wife and I, we purchased a practice from an existing doctor that's been practicing here for about 38 years. We took an existing practice. It was a 2-exam lane, 1,600 square foot office. To within about a year, we then had expanded to a 3,200 square foot office, 5 exam lanes, which now all have the automated phoropters, the autorefractors, the Solix, and we're able to go ahead and pretty much double in space and volume. And what's really great about having the opportunity to have all this technology, especially being in Central California, I was born and raised in LA. So I have 2 totally different mentalities, going from the actual big city to more of like a rural small town feel. And it's exciting to be able to go ahead and actually practice full scope optometry. We're usually taught all these tools and information to be able to practice. But here in Merced, I'm actually able to fully utilize all my knowledge, where interestingly enough, there's only about 1 or 2 other ophthalmologists out here in Merced, and a lot of them are getting ready to retire and aren't practicing as much as they used to. So we're doing so much more glaucoma. We're able to go ahead and monitor for macular degeneration, things that many of the local optometrists aren't actually doing. They are actually doing a lot of just general refractions and just maybe small pathology here and there. But being able to utilize all this equipment has made both myself and my wife able to collect the data really well, analyze it, take care of our patients, and go above and beyond and have them feel confident that an optometrist can actually monitor them for their glaucoma and macular degeneration.
Excellent. Well, thank you for answering that for me. And I'll step out of the way now and I will start collecting all the questions that everyone has. And so click on that box on the right side of your screen, ask some questions, and we'll get it going. Okay, then. So thanks again to Dr. Schlager for doing this a little bit earlier, so we were able to get this in. So if you have any questions, again, use the question box on the right side of your screen. And Dr. Schlager, it looks like he hasn't logged in yet, but we do have Sarah from Visionix. Are you there? Let's see if you're still there.
I'm still here.
Woohoo, great. So if people have any questions, perhaps they can direct them to you as well. If they have any questions that are product specific or that you might be able to help out with. as they come in. So again, if people want to put their questions in the box. One question that we always get, and that we're getting again right now, the cost of the systems and how that works. So maybe you could just go over a little bit about if someone did want to implement this in their practice, what does that actually look like? I know Dr. Schlager, maybe he touched on it a little bit, maybe, about how he actually brought it into his practice, but in realistic terms, what does this look like for someone who wants to build an integrated system?
So you usually start out by, you would fill out a form online for a virtual demo. I will get you in contact with your territory manager, and then they will discuss kind of exactly what you're looking for, your current setup, and kind of what we can do to kind of change that. So maybe that is an automatic lensometer and a digital phoropter and the 130 or a different one of our diagnostic screeners. And then also, if you're looking for OCT, of course, the Solix or one of our other OCTs. And then depending on what really kind of fits your needs and your office, they will then discuss different price options. We have a lot of bundled deals, of course, going into Vision Expo West and going into the end of the year. We have a lot of extra specials right now, and we've worked really hard to get some special financing because we know times are hard right now with some financing. So yeah, that's basically where to start.
Right, and again, you brought up Vision Expo West. That's a really important thing. We're sort of getting into the trade show season right now, and I know that a lot of the docs who have done this webinar series with us this past year will be there. And if you had any more questions for folks, right, if they come to your booth, they might actually be able to see the docs who have done these webinars and get more of these answers, in person.
Yeah, exactly. Our booth number is F10065, and actually Dr. Schlager will be there on Thursday the 28th from 2 to 3. So if you want to come meet him in person and talk to him about how he integrated all this technology into his practice, you're more than welcome. Dr. Hoff, Dr. Bruzek, Dr. Lighthouse, or Dr. Warren and Dr. Gerson will also be there. They've all been on ODwire, I think, once or twice. And so, yep, if you go to our LinkedIn, there is a post that has exactly who's going to be there and what times. So.
Excellent. Yeah, because I think the big question that a lot of people have is really, how will this impact my workflow, especially if you have, existing techs working, right? Mm-hmm. We all know that people are sometimes resistant to change, and change can be kind of a scary thing. So I guess that's one of the big issues that people have when it comes time to actually implement something like this.
Yeah, we do get a lot of that. The good thing about most of our equipment is it is very user-friendly. I used to be a technician, and the first time I ever went to a trade show, I was pretty much able to work almost all the equipment without much training. And so when your items are delivered, our clinical application specialists come out and they will help make sure that they're installed and integrated properly. They also will train your staff. And depending on what products and how much you get and exactly what you would like, that training could look like half a day or a whole day of training. So.
Right. And one thing that I also noticed with the demos that you guys do online is that it's quite similar to being there in person, right? The interfaces are really kind of the same. So if people want to get a real look, the virtual demo is a good place to actually get started, because you can get a real sense of what it's like to use the equipment even without being there.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. So, okay, so let's see. Let's see. Okay, I have a long question here. Let me pop this open so I can see the whole thing. My goodness. Okay, so I'm not sure if you're going to be able to answer this, but I will obviously post this in the discussion thread as well, where this is going to be going up. Okay. How does the, let me see if I can get this right. How does the anterior segment analyzer's posterior float values / sensitivity compare to other devices?
Oh, that's a great question, and I do not have the answer to that. You are right. That would be a product specialist level question. So yeah, if you could just post that or send that to me, I'll make sure to get an answer and we can put it on there.
Excellent. Yep. Yeah. So I'll post that one up, and then you can also address it directly with this person as well, because yeah, that is a very highly specific question. Okay. So a question, you mentioned financing, so somebody seized on that. So are you guys offering financing yourselves, or do you do it through a third party?
We do it through a third party. Yeah.
Right. And so just if someone's interested, they should contact you, and then then you can sort of get a sense of what the deals are through this third party.
Yes, yeah. The territory managers will, tell them what the current rates are based off of, how long they're looking to finance and all that.
Got it. Okay, question here. Will Solix be available at Vision Expo West? I guess to actually, I think what they mean is to actually see it and use it.
Oh yeah, of course. Actually, we will have 3 on in our booth, so there shouldn't be a long wait if you want to get some hands-on. And we will have product specialists there to answer all your questions, and then we'll have some doctors in and out the booth as well, who can answer your questions too.
And follow-up question about the lens analyzer. Does the analyzer have something similar to the Bellin progression analysis, right? So typically you see that in a Panicam. So again, this is, I think, highly specific, so we'll pass that along. Another question, I think highly product specific. Compare and contrast the Solix to the Avanti. So how long do we have?
For a long time. I do know that one of your other webinars, Dr. Rodman, goes into that a little bit. The scan patterns have been improved. And of course, the Solix has multimodal capabilities that the Avanti didn't have, IR imaging, external color imaging. Of course, the full range capabilities with the anterior chamber and retinal scans. And then, of course, fundus camera.
Oh, here's another interesting question. I never really thought about this. This person's implemented, they have obviously other instruments in their office, other high-tech instruments, and they want to upgrade. How can they go about maximizing the value of what they have in their office? Do you guys ever do trade-ins?
So we do trade-ins. We do have some trade-in offers. We're working with another used device company, basically, to help maximize the amount of trade-ins we can take, and to be able to take competitive trade-ins as well. So that's another thing when you reach out that your sales rep can talk to you about. And of course, like anything else, that's based off of, how old your model would be that you're trading in, things like that. So.
Right. Okay, great. So I think what I'll do is I will get this archive of this webinar up rapidly, even more rapidly than usual, to the discussion thread so people can watch it again. And when you get the follow-up email from the system about this webinar, it'll point you right at it. So then if you have more questions, you can feel free to post them right there. And we'll make sure that Dr. Schlager actually sees them in context so he can get back to you. And I think that would probably be the most effective way to get a bunch of these questions answered. So I guess that will do it for tonight. So I'm hoping to see everybody out at Expo West. I know that these past couple of years, attendance is starting to tick up again. And it's always a very useful exercise to go out and, check out the equipment in person. As much as I love doing virtual stuff, as everybody knows, there's something about actually being able to experience the devices in person, which also has a huge advantage. So again, thanks everyone for showing up tonight. And if you have any other questions, again, we'll have that discussion thread posted for you. And I guess we'll see everyone online. So Sierra, thanks you for being here tonight too and answering these questions.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, have a great night, everyone.